shots. A shotgun, depending on what kind. A shotgun, let's say, I don't know if it was a pump action, I don't know if it was a semi-automatic, but I mean, either way, unless you've got some type of big banana clip in there, you're talking, what, 6, 7 shots? Something like that. And, I mean, this was, I'm not going to say anything about whether, I'm not going to claim this was a false flag or anything like that, but it is, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions. Yeah, I can grammar, bruh. But there are a lot of questions to be asked in this situation. And, of course, it's horrible. I mean, what happened? What happened with this kid? Why? Apparently he was bullied by, now, I don't know, I mean, it's really soon to try to comment on it. But there was, I watched a video claiming that he was made fun of by coaches for smelling bad or something like that. If that's the case, fuck you, coaches. I'm sorry. The kid did a shitty thing, a terrible thing, but you don't treat kids like that. You have a responsibility, not just to teach these kids, not just to guide them, but you have a responsibility as an educator, as a coach, as a role model to help these kids become the adults that they're meant to become. So I kind of hope that I don't know, we'll see what all comes out of this. This is terrible. I feel horrible for all the families and friends of those who were, it's killed 10 and 10 more injured. And damn. But I mean, there's, with the frequency of this shit, we've got to, at some point, get to a point where we start to understand what is causing this. And I'm not talking I'm not even talking in the conspiracy theory realm. I'm talking, what is it that makes these kids believe that this is the last? I mean, this is the option. Really, this is what you're going with. I mean, this is how you're going to deal with this. I mean, I understand, that there's going to be a lot of outrage and everything like that, but outrage doesn't get you anywhere. It just doesn't. Understanding gets you somewhere. I mean, at least if we can learn what happened and what continues to happen with these people who want to just attack and kill and, lash out in this way. How did they get to that point? And is there anything that can be done to help? I mean, I think it is incredibly important that all children be talked to about the importance of life, the importance of, I mean, even if you don't have any interest in preserving life or any reverence in the divinity, the spark of divinity, well, that's fine. But you should be taught that it's not your right, it's not your place to take it. And I think that this is where I'm going to go all religified, because I think it is important to take into consideration the fact that there has been this migration away from religion and from a belief in the sanctity of life in the United States and in Europe. I mean, it's been part of the atheistic progressive movement, and I am not an ultra religious person. I do believe in God. I believe that there's a choice that needs to be made in life. If you're looking for proof of God, I think you're shit out of luck, because I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. I think faith is one of the most important decisions that we can make in our lives, if not the most important. And the reason why that is because you're not going to have proof. I do not believe science is ever going to prove the existence of God, much less disprove the existence of God. And I think there's a reason for that. If ever let's say that there is an afterlife. Let's say that there is whatever afterlife you believe in. It really doesn't mean much to me what people believe, because it is their right to believe whatever they want. But I think that there's a responsibility to own that decision, to come to that conclusion by yourself and through some type of effort. It's really easy to be a contrarian. It's really easy to be it's really easy to be the person who says, "Oh, there's nothing. You're dead, and then you're dead." And I think that there's a misunderstanding with a lot of people because of the arrogance of a lot of the religious groups and religious organizations throughout history who have claimed to have soul claim to be the sole holders of the absolute truth, and that if you believe anything else, you're wrong. Especially, I mean, I grew up Catholic, and that's, you're talking about a group who believe that that unbaptized babies went to fucking purgatory. I mean, I think that's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. How can you believe in a good and righteous and loving God and believe that God would send unbaptized babies, something that they have no choice in, to purgatory? They can't get to heaven. They was never baptized. Well, it's not their fault. Well, it's the parents' fault. It's the damn parents' fault. So now that child has to spend an eternity in purgatory, bumbling and stumbling across and bumping into trees. It's dumb, and I think that kind of clear stupidity, that kind of unfairness, and unreasonable thinking is what turns people off to religion. And I think that it's done immense and inexplicable harm to religion. But I think that, like I said, it's important, even if you do not believe in religion, that we continue to pass on generation to generation the sanctity of life. Whatever that means, it's got to mean at some point that you don't have the right to take other people's lives. And when it's one problem, one of the most important reasons to me, not that I know a fucking thing. I mean, like I said, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm a guy in the dark yelling into the dark to a bunch of people listening in the dark. I mean, it's how I like it. But it's important that we acknowledge and that we recognize that when you transition away from I think that it would be difficult to argue that the Constitution is not essentially a libertarian document, because it's based on the premise that you have whatever rights, you can do whatever you want up until you cross over and step on the rights of others to do whatever they want and to live freely and to, prosper and to whatever. That is the libertarian doctrine in a nutshell, is I can do what I want, provided I don't harm anyone, provided I don't steal from anyone, or I don't, I don't cause any undue stress to anyone else by my actions. And I think in my reading of the Constitution is that's the general sum up of the entire thing. And the Constitution in and of itself was a perfect document before all of the amendments. The problem with a lot of amendments was now you had to specify certain things. The idea that all men are created equal means mankind, and it means all races. It means all sexual orientations. It means all religions. It is perfect by itself. It does not need to be elaborated on because it is purposely universal. Now, the idea of owning slaves, that it goes against the Constitution. It always has. The idea of any racist actions being, actions or policies or anything like that being instituted in this country have always gone against the Constitution. It has been there were situations, but I mean, allowing racism, allowing segregation, allowing dehumanization of an entire race of people was always against the Constitution. And it was always an exception to the Constitution. And it was allowed in spite of the Constitution. It wasn't along with the Constitution. So anybody who wants to claim that the Constitution was, by white men, for white men, you're full of shit. The document itself is perfect, and it protects you and me and all of us, no matter what our color, race, sexual orientation, or gender. It makes no difference. It doesn't differentiate, and that is the beauty of it, is that it does not differentiate. And I think that it's important to recognize that the more that we get away from libertarian principles like that libertarian principles, I think that a lot of people who are not libertarian don't understand that it sounds like a selfish political model. It's not. It is a political model that recognizes that you and I have identical rights and identical responsibilities. I have no responsibility to take care of you. And you have no responsibility to take care of me. But I also do not have the right to harm you in any way, as you have no right to harm me. And it is the perfect libertarian principles are the great equalizer. And they recognize, the most important thing about the libertarian principles is that they recognize the importance of everyone else, not just yourself. If you believe in the defense of your rights as a libertarian, as the libertarian platform espouses, but you don't acknowledge or recognize the responsibilities inherent in it, you don't understand libertarianism. Because the responsibilities are the important part. The responsibilities are the part that we all share as that is the social contract with one another. That, hey, I hope for the best for you, but I'm not responsible for you. That doesn't mean that I won't help you, but you don't have a right to demand that I do, okay? On the flip side of the coin, if I do anything at all, that unduly causes your life to be more difficult or less plentiful or bountiful, I should be held accountable for that, because I have the responsibility to ensure that I'm not doing that.